Hello everybody, I would just like to welcome you here to a brief demonstration on how we actually classify an animal within the rules of the IHFA. I'm helped here by my colleague John Kirby. The first thing I'd like to say is that we don't classify animals on the halter, it's only for this demonstration purposes. So I'll start off with going through the linear traits. The linear traits describe the animal. They have actually very little to do with the classification overall scores, but the linear traits are so important for Boal proofs, and they can identify the animal from a sheet of paper on the linear traits. They are scored between 1 and 9, for instance on stature, which is the height of the animal, and the stature of the animal is scored here, from here to the ground, 9 being very tall and 1 being quite small. The 9 stature is 154 centimeters, so anything in around that is a 9 on stature. The next area we look at is the chest width, and the chest width is scored just at the top of the front legs, the width here. So if you can put an A4 refill pad between the front legs, the animal is a 9 on chest width. So that is the chest width score. The body depth score is taken from here to the depth of the animal at the last rib. This is the last rib of the animal, so we take the body depth score from here. So that is the body depth score. This animal is probably a 7 on body depth, a first lactation animal, a heifer and milk. Then we move on to the rump score. And the rump is a very important part of the animal. The rump is the area that carries the back legs. The back leg are hinged from here. The rump angle is from the hook bone to the pin bone. The hook bone is the one here where you can hang your coat on, and this is the pin bone. And then we go behind the animal and it's the rump width, and the width of the pin bone's here. So for a 2-year-old animal, this heifer has a lovely rump width and a lovely angle to her rump as well. Pretty much perfect for her breed at this stage of her development. Then we move on to the angularity, and the angularity is the angle of the last rib and the openness of the last rib. And there has been a little change on the angularity worldwide at the minute. We're looking for a little bit more of this rather than a flat-ribbed animal. We're looking for a little bit more of a barrel here. When you come behind the animal and you look forward, you can see a little bit more of a barrel on her, and that's really to promote a little bit more strength in our black and white cows. Then we move on to the legs, and as I said earlier, the locomotion score is actually what determines the legs and feet score, and unfortunately with this animal on a halter we can't score locomotion properly. Locomotion, the definition of it is where the animal marks the ground with her front feet. The back foot, when she moves forward, should go into the same track. And with an animal like this on a halter, she just can't do that. So she has to be walking freely. And that's one of the main reasons why we never classify an animal on halter, because the animal has to walk freely and use her legs as she does at will. So that is the locomotion score. As I say, where the animal tracks the ground with her front feet, the back feet go into the same track. It's very much determined by, as I said earlier, the rump and the leg set. Now, the leg set again is scored between 1 and 9, 1 being very straight, 9 being very sickled. And this animal is right in the middle. It's one of the intermediate traits that we look for as a 5. So this animal has actually quite a nice leg set. Her foot angle is how steep the foot goes down to the floor. And again, a 9 would be very, very steep. A 1 would be very flat, like a ski. So we don't want a 9 or a 1. We want an intermediate one again, which would be a 5. And the foot angle is just here, and the line of the hairline and just here down to the floor. Then we move on to the udder. The udder on classification is 40%, so it's a very important part. So the first trait we look at is the fore-udder attachment, and that is how well the fore-udder is attached in here into the wall. And you see, when you move this animal's udder, it doesn't move. So this animal has a very strong fore-udder attachment. Rear udder height is taken from the vulva. and it's measured from the vulva down. So obviously, the higher the animal's udder is, the longer it's going to stay up there as a 2-year-old. So this animal will be a 7 on udder height. One of the most important traits of the udder is the centre ligament. Just on the ligament, it's the definition of the crease right up between the quarters, and that is like an elastic band. When the elastic band breaks, everything goes down and everything goes out. So it's most important that the ligament in a young animal is strong to keep the udder up there. Now we move on to teat placement, and the teat placement, the bottom of the quarter is like a saucer. And obviously when you have a saucer, the teat should come out of the bottom of the saucer so it drains properly. And when you look at this animal, the front teeth are nicely tucked in right in the middle of the quarter, and we come behind, and the back teeth are maybe a little bit on the inside, but there's still enough of space between them for to put on the cups on the milking machine. Teeth length. Really, teeth length should be probably the size of my thumb. So I would say this animal is a little bit short, maybe on back teeth. We always score teeth length from the front right-hand side. So there's been a lot of work done on it in the States and that, but there's still the front teeth is the teeth that we normally score. Udder texture is another trait we score, and the udder texture is the fineness of the skin on the udder, which determines the milkability of the udder and how well the udder collapses after milking. A fleshy udder, which sometimes can be slow to milk, doesn't collapse after milking and is more prone to mastitis. So that's really all the linear traits that we classify or that we score. We score 18 of them, and then we move on to the classification. And just turn this way a small bit, John. The first score we put in the classification is the body score, and the body score is taken from the tip of the animal's nose back to the hip bone, back to here. So this part of the animal gets a score for the body, and then we do a score for the rump. Now, the rump is 10% of the overall score because it's such an important area of the... We have to always remember that our dairy cow, no matter what breed she is, the top line is such an important part. And you can see this animal when she walks that her third position is right in the right position, and she walks very well. So on the rump, this young animal is very high VG on rump. She has high VG on body. Then the dairy character score, which is the one that is very much determined by angularity, by the openness of the rib and the angle of the rib. So it's just high VG on dairy character as well. Legs and feet score, as I said earlier, it's difficult to judge with an animal on the halter, but this animal can walk quite well even on the halter. But I would just like to see her walking freely on her own. But she's VG on legs and feet as well. And then the udder score, the legs and feet score is 25% of the overall. The udder score is 40%, so the udder score is a very, very important score in the animal. A small cow with a good udder will always score better than a tall cow with an average udder. And this girl on her udder is high VG, so she's getting into that top category. All animals are scored into 5 categories. You have excellent, VG, good plus, good, fair and poor. And for heifers, the maximum score is 89. From 50 to 89 we score heifers. And for mature cows up to 97. So this animal is getting into that top 2 or 3% of the breed as she is. So that's pretty much sums up our classification. On the farm we classify roughly 39,000 animals per year between the 3 of us, she and John and myself. And then when we're finished on the farm, then we move indoors into a small table, and I have just the printer set up. The little handheld computer that we use can connect to the printer, and we do a printout then for the farmer of every animal that we score and the different traits. And every animal is scored individually, and you do different traits, and he can see from the printout a trend in the herd. And just looking at this one, you probably can't see it, but looking at this one, On the printout here you can see that the teat length is quite short. There's a lot of the teat length scores are below average, which should be a 5. So there's a lot of 2s and 3s and 4s on this sheet. So I would say to this this breeder or this farmer that he should try and protect his teat length a little bit. But you can also see from it that you have a big range in scores. You know, each animal down along the sheet has a nearly a different score for a different trait. And that's what makes this job very interesting, that every animal is different and we deal with every animal individually. This is the little handheld computer that we collect all the information on, and it's downloaded directly into the database every evening or every night at 12 o'clock. So the information we collect during the day is in the database by 12 o'clock that night. So, and then this is what we connect to the printer by Bluetooth, and we print out the summary for the farmers.